Welcome to the Team Teach podcast. I'm Clare, and in each episode you'll find me talking with an expert guest to learn more about behaviour. We squeeze a lot into each episode. You'll listen to the latest thinking in behaviour, continue your professional development with our book recommendation, and then I'll send you away with 3 practical tips you can use in your setting. I'm joined today by Dave Smallwood. Dave is a Principal Team Teach trainer and Company Director of Sense Training and Consultancy. He's worked in special schools for both the local authority and for the National Autistic Society. As a staff development coordinator for the National Autistic Society, he's also delivered and developed training in autism, equality, diversity and rights. Dave is also an occasional co-host of the Team Teach podcast. And today, Dave and I are talking about making best use of individual support plans. Enjoy the episode. Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Claire. How are you?
I am very well. I'm looking forward to the topic we're talking about today, which is behaviour plans. We tend to call them on the courses that we run individual behaviour support plans or individual support plans. Could you start off telling the listener, Dave, a little bit about yourself in a very succinct David Smallwood way?
Yes, I'm Dave. I'm a principal trainer for Team Teach. My background is really working in education, mostly over the years with individuals that have a formal diagnosis of autism.
Brilliant. God, that's so succinct. I wasn't ready actually, Dave, there. I'll just quickly say hi to the listener. You'll recognise my voice. I host these podcasts, but my name's Clare Edmondson. I'm also a Principal Team Teach tutor, and I have been for the last few years, and have run Team Teach courses for about 16 years now. My background's quite varied. I've worked in education, mental health services, and also services that support adopted and fostered children and young people and their families. I'm actually really looking forward to this topic because I think individual support plans make a real difference in some of the services I work in. But before we kind of get stuck into that, Dave, let's do our reflective question. What do you wish you knew then that you know now about the topic?
It's something I think about a lot every day when I'm delivering Team Teach courses. I think about this a lot, and I think the kind of the purpose of a support plan or an individual behaviour plan is kind of changed over the years. I mean, we'll discuss what the function of them are and what the purpose is. But for me, when I think about them, it's about us regulating ourselves. And if we've got a good plan in place, I talk about quite a lot on my courses, and we've done a podcast on reactions versus responses. And it's that's the thing with the plans. If we've got a good plan and everybody's well versed in it and everybody understands what their role is within the plan, whether it be proactive strategies or the responsive strategies that we might have in there, if everyone's really aware of it and understands it, then that's the thing that's really going to keep us calm in a situation. So on my courses, I can't tell people that if something's happening that's really unsafe, you must stay calm, because that's really, really difficult to do. But if we've got a plan in place, everybody's aware of their role and exactly what's supposed to happen, and it's all well drilled and planned and rehearsed, then we know what we're supposed to do. So we're responding rather than reacting in that situation. And that's going to help us regulate ourselves. So really, it's a tool for staff to regulate themselves in a situation. And I think that would have been really useful information for me to know when I started.
It is. And I think that often I think that my reflection is kind of similar to yours, Dave, actually, that I think when I first started, I saw the individual support plans. I think we actually called them behaviour plans in this first service I worked in, just as kind of like extra work, boring admin that I had to do. And I just, it didn't click that actually, if we do consistently follow, or try to follow is probably a better way of describing it, try to follow these plans. Like you said, it is super helpful for the individual, but also for the staff member. And I think it took me a while to kind of, see the benefit. And it's strange doing these reflective questions on the podcast, Dave, because I really see a theme within myself that actually early on in my career, I just sort of hated doing everything admin based, planning. I was just like, no, it's just, personality, just wing it, we'll be fine. But I think as I've got more experience, I've realized that the benefit of these kind of proactive bits, these planning bits, it's not about wasting our time doing endless bits of paper. It's actually just really functional tools to help support the individuals that we care for or work with. So yeah, that's really where I'm thinking with them.
Yeah.
So
Just on that, it's I don't know, I had something to say and I can't remember what my point was now. It's gone.
that's so great. Me and Dave, just like the best hosts ever. Get
Yeah, we'll
an
come back.
idea. It can't have been important. We'll move on. It can't have been important.
It was.
If you work with parents and carers, our family engagement training equips you with the skills, knowledge, and understanding to build positive relationships. Help your families understand and support their child's behaviour, recognise the challenges and opportunities in your organisation, and receive an exclusive range of resources you can use to practically support your families. Take a look at this exciting training option on the Team Teach website. But I was actually going to pose a question to you, Dave, that I see a lot of individual support plans in the consultancy work that I do for my company and through the work that I do with Team Teach training as well. But what actually makes it a good support plan? Like what is it? What's the magic formula or ingredients?
I've seen them all in different formats. I mean, there should be some kind of information on there about the behaviours we might see, and people need that information. It's concerning because that's often what people look for when they look at the behaviour support plans, because they want to know what's going to happen, and we don't want to paint that picture in our mind of the person we're about to meet, possibly. But we need to know that information. It's about risk, isn't it, and being aware of risks that are involved potentially. Then we should have something on there that maybe about the young person or individual we're supporting, about what their likes and interests are, because that's really key information if you're going to try and de-escalate a situation. Something on what may trigger behaviours. Also, the proactive strategies that we have in place for keeping somebody regulated and somebody calm and happy. And then possibly some strategies on there as well. Or we should have some strategies on there for trying to de-escalate situations and how we do that with that individual. And then some responsive strategies as well over what happens if it all goes wrong. What do we do in order to keep everybody safe? So yeah. Have you got any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, that is those titles or headings are the core bits, and I suppose what services choose to do around that and how they present it might be different service to service. I know, for example, in the service I work in 1 day a week, working therapeutically with autistic individuals, that we use a 5-point scale, and that's part of the individual support plan of what behaviours look like if they're at stage 1, stage 2, and so on to stage 5. And stage 5 is kind of that someone is really, really dysregulated. So it's a scaled module, but it might not just be dysregulated. It might just be someone very hyperactive or kind of just not able to regulate themselves, which may not be someone, being, aggressive or trying to hurt. It might actually just be someone that's just very, hyperactive and bubbly and kind of jumping around and climbing on the ceilings. But like that point scale is incorporated into the individual support plans. And I think for me, what makes a great support plan is that it's used. I mean, I know that that's going to shock some people, but it's not just something that's filed away somewhere and being like, yeah, tick, here you go, inspectorate, whoever you are, we've got these in place. So actually they're used. And what's really nice in the service that I work in is that you hear staff and the individuals in that service using the point scale. What number are you at now? And then they might, give a 2 or 3. And it's incorporating the plan into the language and the output from staff and the individuals in that service. And I think for me, that's the thing. And obviously you've described all the practical things that we should have in there, absolutely. But I think the harder thing sometimes for service is to make them usable. I don't know if you found this, Dave, but some of the behaviour support plans or individual support plans that I look at are so long that they might be, I don't know, 10 to 20 pages long.
Yeah.
And I'm not really always certain what staff members are meant to do with that. I'm not saying that we can't be detailed, but how do we make that into a usable document? Have you got any suggestions? Because that's quite a common thing that comes up with me.
It is common. I've seen them loads, and you're scrolling through these pages. It needs to be short,
Yeah.
easy for people to understand. If you've got supply staff in for a day, they need that information quite quickly. They haven't got the opportunity to scroll through 10, 20 pages of a document. So as simple as possible and as easy to read, bullet points.
Yeah.
Don't repeat yourself. There's a lot of copy and pasting, because ones I've seen fall in line with the stages of a crisis, similar to what you were just saying.
Mm.
And the strategies stay the same throughout. And sometimes I think it might get a little bit overcomplicated. So just try and simplify it a little bit, bring it all together so everybody can read it, everybody can understand it.
Mm.
I think you're right in saying that they should be used, and all too often they just sit in a folder somewhere, and nobody really looks at them, and it's an admin exercise. But it isn't. It has a function, and it's about how we can work, like you say, consistently with individuals. And it's important that everybody that comes into contact with that individual understands, and we should use them. All too often, I hear of teachers saying, I say teachers, so members of staff, wherever that may be, well, I'm not going to do that. I haven't got time to do that. I'm too busy. This has got to get done. That plan's not for me. That's for somebody else to be concerned with. But that's where it all falls apart. I think if we've got a plan in place, everybody needs to use it. Now, we can't always be consistent because we're different human beings and we have different personalities. So it's more of a pointer. So we've got strategies in place. And then just on your point that you were making with your 5-point scale as well, I think that's really important, because the strategies that we have in there shouldn't be about what happens when it all goes wrong. We shouldn't be waiting for behavior strategies for when it all goes wrong. We should have it at other points in our scale. Those behavior strategies are there all the time. If I come in smiling, happy, really excited to see everyone, then those behavior strategies still apply to keep me at that level. So yeah, that's my little speech there. I went off a little bit. I did.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I loved it, Dave. You're like so passionate about that bit. It's always nice to hear. But I think, not I think you're right. I know that what you're saying is such sound guidance, isn't it, around how we utilize those plans consistently, which that's the tricky bit. And that comes up a lot, I think, on courses that I run for Team Teach around, it is hard to have that consistency, but the plan actually helps with consistency. And if we're not using the plan well, or only some staff are implementing it, that's where inconsistent bits can happen. I was also thinking when you were speaking then, Dave, about the fact that sometimes in services, we do things to the individuals that we care for or support. So those plans are just like, yep, okay, so Dave does X when this happened. These are his triggers. This is what we do to help. Boom, done. But actually, where the person has the communication skills and mental capacity to be able to create the plan with us, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, have them involved.
That's the thing. Yeah.
They have some ownership over it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when individuals do have that ownership, we're helping to teach self-regulation skills. We are not going to be able to care for or work with the individuals that we're with now forever, no matter what service that we're in. So that ownership and that collaboration together, I think, can really help. And I've seen in practice how that's done well. I was also thinking that we would involve parents and carers, if that was appropriate, if we were working with children and young people, and maybe particularly if a child or young person did have less communication skills, to be able to communicate their kind of needs and wants. I think it's, super important then that we're involving parents and carers kind of just to help guide us, because they will be the experts in the child or young person. And we may miss things or not know them quite as well in our service. So I think that collaboration, if it's appropriate with parents, carers, or with the individual, is what we should be doing with those plans.
Yeah, I think so. Get as many people involved in that process as possible. It's got to be good practice.
I was going to say, Dave, actually, just really about about our top tips on this, because I think with this episode, keeping it very succinct to the idea of kind of what makes a good plan, and then also the kind of like little tips and tricks we've given as we go through to make them, even more well used within our service. So I just wondered if you could give a couple of tips to start us off, and then I'll finish off with one at the end.
I've got two, and they're going to be really short.
That's good, yeah.
Because I'm being strict with this one.
You'll go off on a tangent, though. I know you will.
Oh, I won't. The first one is have them available to staff. That's
all
it.
Staff.
All staff. Yeah. And then you want the second one?
Yep.
Everybody use them.
Yeah, I like that, but so succinct. But yeah, you're like, that's literally what we've said all podcast. Use them consistently, make sure everyone is aware of them. And I know for those people that are working in services where that's like, yeah, of course we're doing that. Actually, that is helpful, I think, to some services that haven't quite got there yet. And then my last tip really just relates to what I was talking about that collaboration. I think for me, out of all the things that we've talked about here, where we can and where someone has capacity to, we want to be collaborating with the individuals that we support and making sure that they have some ownership in their care or education. And I can't, share passionately enough how important that is. And if we're just doing plans to people, it's not going to be as effective as if we're collaborating together and trying to kind of problem solve together, co-regulate together, because some of the individuals that we work with can't regulate on their own. And maybe it's about how we support them together to do that kind of as a team. Yeah, so that was my
there's one more. One more.
Yeah, go on, Dave. Yeah.
Not everybody needs one. So I don't. When I say have them and everybody use them, we have them for individuals that may present some kind of risk through their behavior, or maybe a significant barrier to learning or something like that. So I don't think you have to have one for every single person in your service.
I guess depends on the service, but yeah. You may not need one for all people, because some of your policies will already kind of be enough for some individuals, but for some we might need a bit more. That's a good add, Dave. That's really clear to add in.
The more about the reasonable adjustments that we're making for certain individuals to meet their needs. Yeah,
for sure. Brilliant, Dave. I enjoyed that one. We were so succinct. I can't believe it. I don't think the listener will be able to believe it as well, but I will catch up with you soon for our next episode.
Yep. All right. I look forward to it. Bye.
You've been listening to the Team Teach podcast. It's been great to have you here with us as we discuss behaviour, communication, and the ways we can best support those in our care. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.